Hello, everyone, and welcome back to India Today Global. We've got for you our coverage of the fourth night of the Democratic National Convention, which closed out today. Kamala Harris making her big acceptance speech of her party's nomination to be president of the United States. In many ways, a historic moment for the party, the second time that they've nominated a woman for the top job after Hillary Clinton in 2016. And in many ways, an interesting night closing out a rather successful convention for the Democrats. They've managed to get a lot of energy into their campaign, getting, of course, a lot of celebrity and star power throughout this convention. But especially tonight, they had, of course, speeches from up-and-coming Democrats, Senator Mark Kelly, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Kamala Harris's family, and, of course, also having performances from celebrities like Pink. Therefore, the Democrats have really relied, unlike the RNC, on a great deal of star power, a great deal of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris and her campaign and what she intends to do in the presidency. So now I think we've got, before we get into a conversation with our White House correspondent, Rohit Sharma, we've got just a small clip for you from Harris's speech tonight, where she lays out her vision for what she wants America to look like.
Thanking my most incredible husband, Doug, for being an incredible partner to me, an incredible father to Cole and Ella, and happy anniversary, Dougie. I love you so very much. To our President Joe Biden, when I think about the path that we have traveled together, Joe, I am filled with gratitude. Your record is extraordinary, as history will show, and your character is inspiring. And Doug and I love you and Jill and are forever thankful to you both. And to Coach Tim Walz, you are going to be an incredible vice president. Taught us how to make them. On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
There we have Kamala Harris accepting her party's nomination to be president of for the presidency of the United States, of course, taking on Donald Trump in the election in November. But we've got the man who's going to help us unpack it all, who's been on the ground for the last couple of days, bringing you the latest coverage of the DNC, Rohit Sharma. Rohit, thanks so much for joining us. Could you tell us a little bit about, let's just start with the speech, right? Kamala Harris's big speech where she accepted her party's nomination for the presidency. What were the big takeaways for you?
I think it was at the end of the day, it was very important for us to be able to see if she could deliver on the big stage, right? And I think that it was like a culmination of things we've heard in the past 3 days, from Hillary Clinton to the Obamas to Bill Clinton to other speeches that were made. I mean, they had theme, they stuck to their theme. And I think her speech in the end tried to hit all the right notes. She wanted to talk about immigration. She wanted to talk about abortion. She wanted to talk about democracy. She wanted to talk about gun violence. Like she was able to talk about those things. Delivered a very good speech, in my opinion. I mean, I think she went on for about 37, 38 minutes. Not too long. I think if in comparison, I think Donald Trump and his speech went for 92 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I think she kept it crisp. She kept it, within the bounds of making sure that she's able to speak directly to independent voters, energize her base, and also touch upon some of the contrast between her what could be possibly her administration and also what could also be a Trump administration, and trying to make sure that she can draw contrast to that. So I think in all, good speech, but I have to say this: the campaign starts now. It's now on is the uphill battle that she's going to fight,
Right.
and we'll have to wait and watch how she does that.
Yeah.
Another thing, Shashank, we also have, we'll probably be joined by Kannan, who is a House delegate. He's elected leader in Virginia,
Right.
and he was in the convention center today, witnessing the speech. So he might also join us, and we might
Perfect.
have to,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, we'll probably go to him. Yeah.
So can I ask you a little bit about like the issues? Judging from her speech, she talked about, of course, abortion rights. She talked about foreign policy issues. She talked about a second Trump term being in some ways a threat to the democratic system in America. Could I ask you to just get into the weeds a little bit? Talk to us a little bit about the policy, what she promised, what she said she'd get done, what her real pitch was of herself to the American public.
Well, I think the only thing from her policy platform that we've seen is essentially the economic plan, right? And which again is important, because in swing state that's something that people are worried about, the economy. I mean, she talked about comprehensive immigration reform. We do not know what that essentially means. She talked about fixing the border. Again, no policy details on that. I think there are the two things that she's pretty clear on. One is abortion. I think that's like a pet project since 2022. She wants to be able to make a law to make abortion legal at the federal level. So I think that's apart from that. Um, she talked about ceasefire, which we already know. Anthony Blinken is in the Middle East. She talked about it. She did make a big point about Palestine and freedom, and it's coming from a place of a lot of voters not being happy with how things have happened in the past, couple of months or so, in terms of delays in ceasefire, and people saying that they're not going to vote for her. So I think it probably came from that. She did touch upon Ukraine, and making sure that she continues the Biden doctrine of providing them with all the support. So I think all in all, I mean, she's touched upon all these topics, but the specific of the details, the specific of
Right.
economy plans, I mean, the specific of how she's going to fix border, I think that remains to be still seen, Shashank.
Right. It's very interesting that you should mention that. Yesterday you were sitting here and, we were just talking about, actually, the day before we were sitting and talking about how sometimes it seemed like the Democrats were trying not to mention issues that were weaknesses for them. The border, immigration, Israel and Palestine, big differences on those issues in the parties that have really come up, I think, in the last couple of days, especially with uncommitted delegates sort of saying that, a Palestinian American was not allowed to take the stage at the DNC. But Kamala Harris, of course, mentioning both those contentious issues. Do you think that, it says something about her campaign or what she intends to do about it? On immigration, at least, she seemed to go on the offensive and say that, look, there's a border security law that we had in place. Trump, of course, did not sign that, or at least pressured lawmakers not to sign that into law and give it legal action because he did not want to, he wanted the crisis to continue. So that was the accusation she leveled at Trump. She also talked about Israel-Palestine, supported Israel, but also said that there's a lot of loss of life going on in Gaza. How are you seeing this immigration, her sections on immigration as well as her section on Israel-Palestine?
Look, that was a fact. The Democrats did come up with a deal that they did not like to begin with on immigration. They've always asked for pathway to citizenship to be included in the immigration reform. So that was excluded. I mean, it was a very, watered down deal, and Trump asked House Republicans to not go ahead and vote for it. So that was a fact. I mean, would that make her base happy? Would that immigration change make her base happy? Maybe, maybe not. We do not know. But I mean, again, at the end of the day, she's trying to woo these voters, right? I mean, again, trying to appeal to all the broad coalition that the Democrats have built over the years, minorities and young voters and suburban women voters and suburban voters, African American voters. I think she was trying to do, appeal to them. I think in terms of, electorate, I mean, at least from Trump's perspective, he has it pretty clear. He knows, what his base is. He knows what he's talking. He makes comments. He never, his undaunted comments, unhinged comments, and he just gets away with it. But I think for Kamala, it's very, very difficult because, she wants to, help or say things in a balanced way to what we saw today in that speech was she doesn't want to offend the Jews, and she doesn't, she also doesn't want to offend the Muslims or Palestinians living in America. She doesn't want to disappoint the legal immigrants, and she also doesn't want to disappoint the illegal immigrants. So I think she has a a very tough balancing act to do. But she managed it well tonight. At least for tonight, she definitely managed it pretty well.
Right. And could I ask you, you've been there on the ground for the last couple of days at the Democratic National Convention. Do you think it was a good convention overall for the Democrats? Do you think it's hit all the right notes and given them the bump they need moving into the election in November?
I think Democrats are excited about this new candidate, right? I mean, they were preparing for Biden, and things just changed. A lot of people that I spoke to are happy that Biden decided to step aside. They wanted to have their base feel that they're in this election. I think a month, six weeks ago, people thought Trump's going to win in a landslide. People coming up projecting models with he's going to have more than 300 plus electoral college votes. At least that's changed now. At least the narrative has changed. This race is very close. Always within the margin of error. But again, I think I mean, and not to say this, but I think she has a tough fight. We haven't discussed gender biases. We haven't really discussed, what happened in 2016. She hasn't faced Donald Trump in any debate. Joe Biden did in 4. So we'll have to wait and watch as how things go. But I also want Shashank bring in Kanan. Kanan, if you can hear us, and
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
yes, we can. Karan, quickly, you were in the arena. You were at the convention center. What did you guys witness today in terms of, I mean, very historic moment in terms of
Yep.
first Indian/African American women getting nominated. What was the mood there in the convention center?
It was jubilant. It was unreal. It was historic. You could feel the energy. It was electrifying. Um, I mean, it was the first time in the history of this country that a major party has nominated an Indian American woman, African American woman to be their nominee for the gender election. It was outstanding. And for someone like me, Indian American immigrant, who's in politics, who came here to study masters. I got elected last November to the General Assembly in Virginia. It is surreal for me to witness this historic convention. So I would say it is very electrifying. The last 4 days have been outstanding. We are leaving the convention right now with a ton of energy, which will be spent in the next 75 days in bringing this home um, over the finish line.
Okay. Now, Karan, you've been here for 4 days. You've obviously you are an elected representative. As an Indian American, if you could tell us, what it means to some of the people you've met from across the nation, and then also in terms of, we're hearing a lot of people, especially talk about, Israel and Gaza. Minorities talk about it. Have you encountered any delegates? There have been delegates, who did not vote for Kamala Harris. I mean, what was their, ask, and how did the DNC manage all of that?
I'm not aware of anyone not voting. I think this has been being discussed. I think she addressed it very well. DNC even had a Palestine panel on Monday, if I remember right. So that was, I think, for the first time. It was very well attended. I think people understand, and obviously there will be more work to do from the campaign. But I think at the end of the day, I think there will be a very, very wide understanding that President Kamala Harris would fairly resolve and do everything possible from her side, from our administration side, to resolve this. I think she addressed it very forcefully today in her speech.
Thanks, Karan. We'll go back to Shashank now. Shashank, any questions for Kanan?
Yes,
He's on the bus.
I do.
That's taking.
I do actually. No. Thank you so much for bringing Kanan on. I would actually really like to ask Kanan what he thinks the big strengths and some of the weaknesses are of the Democratic campaign moving into November. If you could give us a frank assessment of what he thinks the Democrats got right in the convention, as well as any vulnerabilities he thinks that the party has moving into the November campaign.
I mean, I would say the strengths obviously is an extreme enthusiasm and energy. there is something very special about what's happening. Um, so that's the positive. Energized, a ton of energy, kind of passion and enthusiasm. Challenge in politics, democratic politics always is continuing to message and continuing to execute. I mean, I got elected last year. I'm already knocking doors. So it is always the challenge, but I'm very confident. Democratic Party is up to the challenge, and we are going to make sure that we work very, very hard to bring this home. We are very aware that the elections will be close, and we are not going to leave anything open. And this energy, this boost that the last 4 days have given, puts us in a very good springboard to go do this.
Right. And
a quick
yeah,
question.
Rohit,
Sorry, go ahead.
Rohit, Bandi, go ahead. No, go ahead. Please go ask your question.
Well, quick question. And I heard from somebody on the inside that there were strategies discussed in some of the caucuses, especially trying to appeal to the minority voters in the swing states. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, if you attended those caucus.
I'm not aware. I'm not in the know of any of this. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. That's okay. I know for a fact that there were strategies discussed, especially when it comes to Michigan and Wisconsin, and trying to attract more voters there. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the elections in some of the states were only won with like 20,000 votes, 11,000 in Arizona. So I think they were trying to mobilize, minority voters in those states to ensure that they could win those states again. So, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Shashank.
No, absolutely. I was just going to ask, Karan, in terms of how you're seeing the Trump campaign's response to Harris. You're an elected politician yourself. As a politician, could you tell us a little bit about how the Harris campaign hopes to go after the Trump campaign in terms of making its pitch, especially in states like Georgia, and of course, Rohit is asking about swing states. So, I mean, I'll ask you there as well. What is your pitch going to be, especially because, on questions, I'm sorry, let me just finish. In terms of questions of the economy, there are lots of questions about inflation and the fact that people seem to feel slightly dissatisfied with the state of the economy. That seems to be a vulnerability for the campaign. So what is your pitch going to be in crucial swing states? What's it going to be in states like Georgia?
So I'm a chartered accountant from Chennai. So finance is what all I do. I've done for 35 years. So when you say economy, money, finances, the campaign will continue to work on it. They have issued some very specific policies last week. Even today, Vice President Kamala Harris talked about housing very specifically. There was also specific speeches about addressing the price issues, holding the large companies accountable. So I'm pretty sure those will be discussed and debated more specifically.
Right.
For the next few days and few weeks rolls on.
Right.
As far as the AAPI, what I can tell you both is I am active in the AAPI caucus, AAPI community, AAPI organizations. There is very strong plan to address and reach out to AAPI voters and to mobilize them. Early voting is a big thing. And, Virginia, where I come from, our voting starts September 20th. Think about it. September 20th is when you can start voting early. We have 45 days of early voting in Virginia, thanks to Democrats. So there will be a lot of mobilization going on, and there will be very targeted surgical that will happen to the API minority community, for sure.
Right.
As far as versus the Trump campaign, I'll be very frank with you.
Right.
The contrast cannot be starker. I mean, it is so stark. I sometimes say you just have to roll the tape and show the people what the other side has said, and that speaks for itself. How stark the difference is. But I'm pretty sure we'll hone the message. We will focus on the key differences, which is pretty huge.
Right. And Karan, if I could ask you a question that Rohit and I have been talking about a little bit here as well, about this question of foreign policy issues like Israel and Palestine. We've seen over the last couple of days that certain members of the party have raised concerns about the fact that a Palestinian American was not allowed to speak at the Democratic National Convention. Could I ask you, you're saying you're reaching out, of course, to voters from minority backgrounds. There's been a lot of conversation about how Arab American voters feel turned off by the Biden administration's policy on Israel and Gaza. Do you see this as something that's dividing the party at this point in time? What is the strategy to address the divisions?
I'll be very frank with you. I'm a state legislature. Foreign policy is not in my lane. I'll say that first. Number two, yes, I'm an immigrant. I'm a proud Indian American. I'm not aware of any of the situation that you just said. I shouldn't comment about things that I'm not aware of. But I'll tell you this.
And some would say that's an easy.
Party is about. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, Democratic Party is about fairness, and the policies that the leadership will pursue has always been about fairness and will always be about fairness and justice. I'm pretty sure the leadership will always focus on it.
Rohit, sir, you were going to ask a question.
No, I was just saying Karan took an easy way out. I mean, he's been at the convention. I mean, he's seen all these protests. He's seen everything, and it was a very easy answer, easy way out. I mean, yes, for sure, Karan. But I mean, the fact remains, there are these tensions within the Democratic Party, within the voters, within the Democratic supporters. I happened to be at the rally yesterday, and I asked one of the people, and I said, "Hey, if you guys do not vote for Kamala Harris, what chances do you have, if Trump becomes the president of the United States?" And they're willing to risk it because they're frustrated with Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. You don't have a comment to make on this, but there is this outstanding issue which needs to be resolved. She has to win all these states. So, again, thank you so much for joining us, Kanan. I know you're on your way to the hotel. We'll probably have more conversations during this election cycle. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you both, and good luck to you. And thanks for covering the DNC convention. Thank you so
much, Karan. So, I mean, it's very interesting, Rohit. In terms of, is this what you're seeing from a lot of people within the Democratic Party? They're sort of uncomfortable, unwilling to talk about the Israel-Palestine issue. Do you feel like they have a handle on just how divisive this issue can be?
It is very divisive. I mean, I've met a lot of people who are happy about Kamala becoming the nominee and wanting to go ahead and trying to knock the doors and do the phone banks and all that. But then they're wearing the badges and they're wearing the flags and whatnot, and they are making a point that they need to get the ceasefire done. The fact of the matter is, Secretary Blinken has been in the Middle East for the past, I think, 7-8 days. They wanted to get the ceasefire done. I was told sometime before or during the convention, so that they could bring in the coalition. But that hasn't really happened. And from the people that I spoke to yesterday at the rally, I think they're hell bent on somehow either getting the administration pressure to do the ceasefire, or they're threatening not voting for Kamala Harris, which would actually eventually cost her the election.
Right.
So I think there is this tension, and they have to tackle this on ASAP if she has any chance of winning the White House.
Right. And I want to ask you this: do you think that because the sense, I mean, just as an observer sitting here, seems to be that actually they have tried to sweep it under the rug as much as possible. Bernie Sanders made a reference to it, certainly. AOC, of course, made a reference to it as well. But no one's really come out and front and center put this issue at the center of their speeches or their remarks. Perhaps that's by design. And also then now, I believe, it was just a campaign group, I think Muslim Women for Harris Walls, felt like they could no longer continue because of this revelation that actually a Palestinian American was not allowed to take the stage. Do you think it's been handled in a ham-handed fashion, this issue so far?
See, elections are grassroots, Shashank, in the US. Everybody's a volunteer, right? I mean, and you get elected, you get promoted, whatever. But at the end of the day, if your volunteers are refusing to show up for you to knock on the doors and do the meetings and call people, there's no way you can win an election, especially when it comes to swing states. So the fact that Muslim Women for America are saying they're not going to endorse or support Kamala Harris is a big deal. I think they realize it. There's no, when I say they, I think everybody in the campaign realizes it. Everybody at the White House realizes it. And they want to get this ceasefire thing under control.
Right.
But fact of the matter is, Shashank, I'm alluding to the point I was trying to make. It is an uphill task, I'd mentioned that at this point in time, 22nd August, In 2016, Hillary was leading by 8.2 points, and she still lost the election. So Kamala is in dead heat. She's probably leading in some states within the margin of error. I think that's what we've seen from even the speakers who came out and spoke, and they said that do something and go out and vote. Don't be complacent. Let's not make the mistake of 2016. So she has an uphill task. There are gender biases. I've met some people, straight up misogynist people, who are not going to vote for her because she's a woman. So I think those things are very important, and she has to overcome these big hurdles to have a chance at winning the White House.
Understood. Rohit, thank you so much for joining us. You've been running around tirelessly at the DNC in Chicago. So finally, now that it's over, you can have a little bit of well-earned rest. But for our viewers, of course, we'll continue. We have, something for you. Kamala Harris and her husband, Doug Emhoff, sort of celebrating the nomination and, of course, also addressing the crowd at the DNC. We've got that for you now.
We haven't won anything yet, right? So it's just 70-odd days left. I think tonight we can have some fun. And unlike my great friend, Governor Walz, he said he'd sleep when he's dead. That's extreme. He's going to be president. So I'm going to sleep on November 6th, celebrating you becoming our next president. I guess that was supposed to be a toast. Look, like I said, we got work to do, but tonight we're going to have some fun, and then tomorrow we're just going to get right back to it. So join me in toasting my wife, the love of my life, on our 10th anniversary. We're not looking back, we're not going back, we're looking into the future with you as our next president. Kamala Harris.
Right, so that's it from us here at India Today Global on the fourth night of the Democratic National Convention. But of course, it won't be the end of our coverage of the US elections. We're going to keep going at bringing you our daily show, Race for the White House, where we bring you some of the latest updates from the American political landscape and this evolving clash between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump for the White House. Please do catch it. We put it out every day on our YouTube channel. That's India Today Global. Thank you again for watching and for joining me and Rohit for this coverage of the Democratic